In the United States, another government shutdown is looming on November the 17th. This echoes what happened in September as a bipartisan compromise could not be reached on Congress. On that occasion, a government shutdown was narrowly avoided when a temporary extension was passed due to the approaching deadline. Members of the U.S. Congress who were slated to attend the AGOA Forum missed the trade discussions. We speak on this with Daily Maverick Associate Editor Spector. Thank you very much, Brooks, for your time this morning. Help us make sense of what is going on.
Well, good morning. Good to be with you. Let me start by saying it is extremely simple and very, very complicated all at the same time. I mean, there's really no other way to say that. At its core is a dispute within the Republican Party's caucus that narrowly controls the House of Representatives, and between the Republican-controlled House of Representatives and the Democratic Party-controlled Senate over the national government's budget. And part of the core of this debate is about a whole series of decisions on, among other things, aid to Israel, aid to Ukraine, increasing security on the Mexican-American border, and the possibility of arms sales to Taiwan. But there are a whole series of other issues that the Republican caucus in the House of Representatives wishes to pursue through the budget that would otherwise be seen as social decisions about society rather than budgeting per se. And as a result, because appropriations in the American system must initiate from the House of Representatives, and also because, unlike a parliamentary democracy like, say, South Africa or Britain, the party discipline is not absolute. I mean, the Speaker of the House for the majority or the minority party leader cannot absolutely enforce party discipline. It's required of them a series of compromises, blandishments, happy talk and everything else. As a result, there are within the Republican Party caucus a series of smaller groups that are at odds with one another as well. The result, put this all together, and the result you have is the chaos that you're seeing now.
Sure. When we take a look at the AGOA Forum, much has been said or noted by some that you didn't have high-level officials attending the summit. Is there anything to read in between the lines where that is concerned?
Well, I'm not sure that criticism is accurate. You did have, for example, the U.S. Trade Representative, which is a cabinet-level post, Ambassador Tai, T-A-I, and you did have the Deputy Secretary of Commerce, Mr. Graves, and you had a whole series of officials one or two steps below that. What you didn't have was the President, which was not certainly to be expected, or the Vice President, or the Secretary of Commerce, but you did have her deputy. And as a result, what you had was high-level working representation rather than symbolic presidential, vice presidential representation. And you have to understand, I guess, that current circumstances being what they are, say, for example, the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, is up to this, up to the eyelids in the Middle East at this point. So it wouldn't be his natural bailiwick anyway. The key person in all of this would have been Catherine Tai of the U.S. Trade Representative's office, and she was there. And I gather she is still here or is about ready to depart. As a result, the challenge is in something like the AGOA Forum, there is also, and I must explain this, there is a slight misapprehension about the way in which AGOA is formulated. It's not a treaty, and it isn't entirely within the purview of the president to make decisions about it. It's a law that's passed by the Congress, and so the logical place to exercise the largest amount of interest is among Congress, or most especially staff members from the Congress, who were, I believe, in attendance as well. But there are challenges to AGOA in several dimensions. One, it expires in the year 2025, and so it will require congressional action by next year to renew it or revive it or what shall we say, revisit it and amend it. But there are challenges specific to South Africa, and there are two of them. One is that some people in Congress see South Africa as a middle-income country, should be able to graduate from its trade benefits. And the other, of course, as I think many people have explained, because of South African government decisions vis-a-vis the Middle East or the Ukraine-Russia war, that has provoked a certain amount of ire among a number of members of Congress about where South Africa stands and should it benefit from the benefits of the legislation. So those are challenges that South Africa has to deal with. The other, of course, is something I saw mentioned just a couple days ago, that some African representatives were prepared to tell Americans that just because AGOA exists, don't expect equal opportunity under the umbrella of the All Africa Free Trade agreement, and that probably doesn't sit all that well with some members of Congress either.
The looming shutdown, how likely will it be, and what will be the consequence?
The looming shutdown, they will argue and snarl and glare at each other and bare their teeth and, threaten to let the government implode until, what shall we say, an hour before midnight, and then they'll reach a kind of a shaky compromise that extends the continuing resolution, the budget as it was, for another limited period. One of the things that's being proposed by the new Speaker of the House is a series of a ladder of continuing budget resolutions, which, in my judgment, is an unworkable idea. You can't do part of the government and then not another part of it and then not another part of it over a series of steps over weeks and months. So they're going to have to end up with an unhappy kind of compromise. There may even be a day or two in which the government technically shuts down, although essential services, air traffic controllers, the military, telecommunications management, and so forth, those things will continue because they're essential services.
Spector, thank you very much for your time this morning, Associate Editor at Daily Maverick.